Hello everyone, it's Darkseeker here again. Welcome back for another video. Today we are revisiting a deck that I played a few weeks ago. It's Jade Druid, and this specific version of Jade Druid has got me to Legend in the May season, so we are revisiting the deck and looking at my journey to Legend. Now, in my opinion, this deck has solid matchups against a range of meta decks that are out there. Against aggro, Open Summons on 4 can just cause an aggressive opponent to concede because a big taunt comes out onto the board that they can't deal with in the early game. Alternatively, against aggro, lots of armor gain can help you stabilize. Now against mage, because there are lots of mages on the ladder, I think the armor gain helps against Secrets Mage and allows you to beat them. Mozaki or Flamewaker Mage is a little bit more complicated because of the huge amounts of damage they can do on one turn. Maybe the armor gain can help you there as well, but more on that in a moment. Now on HS Replay, you do get some help with this deck in terms of a mulligan guide, and you'll notice that Oaken Summons, kept in the opening hand, is especially positive for this deck, particularly summons into Vargoth into a repeated Oaken Summons. Very, very good. Also notice Yogg featured pretty high up on that list, which I find quite interesting. But anyway, if you need it, HS Replay has some support for you. Now, in terms of my win rate, overall, with my recorded games, 73% win rate. It is actually the first 5 games on that list which were featured in terms of my run to Legend. The other games in that list were from my earlier video a few weeks back. So the first 5 games are the ones that are relevant here, and you'll see it's 5 wins against a mage, a rogue, a demon hunter, a priest, and another rogue. But let's focus on mage here. Now, notice that I have 70 health here, including armor, by turn 6. I even was able to naturalize away a Flamewaker, which I was very proud of, and I thought, now I must have a chance, surely. Until they played the Emperor, which really freaked me out, because I thought, oh my gosh, what are they discounting in that hand? I popped the block, got them down to 1 health, and at this point, 69 health including armor. And then they played double Mozaki. And then I thought, oh gosh, I'm dead, aren't I? With 2 mana to spare, Frostbolt was what they started out with, and then the damage just kept coming. Of course, if they're casting Frostbolt, they're going to have double Ice Lance in hand, so yeah, here it came, 17 damage followed by 19 damage Ice Lancers, but it was not enough. It was not enough. They got me down to 9 health, and that was all they could do, and I was able to stabilize and win the game. It was the armor gain early on, the plus 40 armor that I gained by turn 6 that helped me stabilize. So this deck can gain massive amounts of armor early, and that's what saved me. Now against Demon Hunter, which is hyper aggressive, you know, we were able to get a taunt down early on, and we were able to gain substantial armor. And this is by, you know, turn 5. And as aggressive as our opponent is, they're starting to use up all of their resources, and they're going to run out of stuff to do. Meanwhile, I have a hand that's relatively plentiful. It is somewhat of a reactive hand, but I just keep gaining armor as well. How on earth is this Demon Hunter going to get through all of this armor? It doesn't seem probable. So if I were them, I'd probably concede at this point. But maybe they think that Leroy Jenkins is going to be enough. Unfortunately for them, sure, Leroy is 6 damage. Well, that only tickles. And throwing that 4 damage into a whelp was painful. And we just continue here to stabilize, react to whatever they play, keep the board clear. And there's nothing more to say except, why haven't they conceded yet?
Fresh fell steel, hot out of the kiln.
But they clearly think they still have a chance. And again, 5 damage. That would normally be a lot of damage. But it just tickles. It's barely dented my armor count. I've just gained more armor. I can even afford to face tank a minion. And the key card in this deck that helps with the armor gain has just been drawn into my hand.
I will side.
It is Solar Eclipse. And hello to Baku, but we do not fear Baku, because we have Poison Seeds. And we can even gain some more armor. Don't even need to combo the Branching Paths with Solar Eclipse. Don't even need to combo it.
Hey, I got you, friend.
And yet our opponent still keeps going. They are determined here. Determined to keep going. To try and shred that armor. And now we have Yogg Saron. Let's see what happens. Bow down before the god of death.
What shall we hunt?
Working out so far. Maybe not. Revenge? Sure. Shrink Ray? Ooh, Annoytron. Ooh, new hero power. Okay.
I got you, friend.
Oh, that's a pretty solid Yogg. And we could afford to play Yogg there.
How's the weather down there?
We're in no rush with this game. Yogg was just a fun little play, just to see what would happen. Normally, Yogg would be used as a board clear perhaps, or an emergency reset. Here, we just played it for fun because we could. Okay, joining this game in progress is against a priest. Now, it's a big priest. And Zuldrak Ritualist there, an MVP card against Big Priest, because of what it's just put onto the board. It is going to screw up our opponent's resurrection pool, and it is one of our strategies here for beating Big Priest. This and Poison Seeds, giving them treants that they have to resurrect. Which is why I'm a massive fan of 1 copy of Zuldrak Ritualist in this deck, and 1 copy of Injured Marauder. Other versions of Jade Druid will run 2 Injured Marauders. I'm happy to see 1 copy of the Ritualist is still maintained in this deck. So the Big Priest matchup here I think is favoured for us because of these strategies that we're able to employ.
Save the ritual.
And feeling sorry for our opponent here, who hopefully will start resurrecting rubbish, but as you can see here, fast forwarding a bit into this game, they then started playing their big threats, their normal big threats, and started resurrecting all of them. Now, Solar Eclipse Naturalize, causing our opponent to overdraw here. Double Obsidian Statue gone, Scrapyard Colossus gone. That's incredibly encouraging. We just need to deal with the stuff that's on this board, which is pretty scary. So our opponent was not resurrecting as much of the garbage that I hoped they would resurrect in the late game. But even then, the ability to gain armor does let you stall out for a bit longer. Lets you find Poison Seeds. So as this game would continue, another Spellstone there, and finally they resurrect a bit of garbage. Although that Prime, when it dies, it will get shuffled into the deck, and it'll come back as a 6/8, which is perhaps problematic. But for now, as a 1/3 body, it's garbage.
The circle of life is over.
The circle of life is over, says Malfurion. Once again, due to the armor game, due to the taunts, we are able to stall out a bit longer. I don't want to use my last poison seeds until I see a little bit more committed to the board. What I'm curious about is, are there any other big threats in that hand that I need to neutralize still? In which case, I want to hold off on this poison seeds. The Obsidian statue doesn't scare me. It's only 4 attack. But the big prime has 6 attack. That's a little bit more troublesome. Oh, and there's another one. Okay, question now is, do we use poison seeds? So, a key to success with this deck is resource conservation. Utilize your resources wisely. Hold them back until you really need to commit them. I can still gain armor here on quite a significant level with Ferocious Howl, so I may as well do it. We are slowly running out of cards, so now we need to think about shuffling our Jade Idols and the right time to do that as well. So we don't want to fatigue. And it is in these late game turns that things do become a little bit more complicated from a decision making standpoint. But the objective is generally simple. Shuffle enough Jade Idols, be able to, make those Jade Golems big enough. The big green men need to grow, so we can then start contesting any remaining big minions that Big Priest plays. And at the same time, where possible, we need to maintain our health and our armor. So that's our late game strategy. We have the armor, or rather, we probably won't have the armor when they're done with us here. Interestingly though, they're trading. Instead of going all face. This is interesting. Okay, we're still left with 4 armor, 28 health in total, a pretty scary board, and so, Poison Seeds comes down. Because that was a huge commitment by our opponent, so that was a good time to commit both the Poison Seeds and the AoE, the Starfall. Next turn, Ysera Unleashed. Ooh, that's annoying. That resurrect could have been better for us. They could have resurrected a treant. Alright, it's time for the Dream Portals. Ysera Unleashed, my favourite card in all of Hearthstone. And we're going to throw a few Jade Idols into the mix as well, while we can. What I'm now looking at is an Ultimate Infestation turn that will hopefully fill up our board with dragons and maybe get us a couple of idols as well. Okay, finally! They get a treant back from their resurrection. That's brilliant. That's a small dragon. We need a few more dragons on this board.
Sleep now.
Also, our health total is slightly concerning. But from this point on now, we should be fine. We gain some armor. That's a big dragon. That's a reasonable dragon. Oh, goodbye, Ysera. Unfortunate. And there are no more dragons to come. Okay. 4 more portals in the deck. A load of Jade Idols have just been picked up. Let's see how our opponent reacts to this board of dragons. They're probably going to have to invest quite a bit to deal with all of these dragons, particularly Deathwing. And at that point, we can then start to stabilise with the big green men. And we can armour up as well, just to safeguard our health total. We are in no rush with this deck to kill our opponent. For us, it's about armor gain, stabilisation, developing the big green men, making favourable trades on the board, keep developing more big green men, keep making more favourable trades. Eventually our opponent runs out of resources, then we can start going face with the big green men. Oh, that's very unfortunate. We lost a portal. Who knows what was in that portal? It could have been something good. That's unfortunate. So, Lunar Eclipse and Solar Eclipse. Am I going to get a better opportunity to use these two spells in this game? May as well just use them now, right? Oh, there's two big green men. Shuffle a few into our deck. I want to gain the armor. Play it safe. Not that I would face tank the obsidian statue with an attack. But the armor just really helps here. The opponent needs to find a way to deal with the Deathwing in particular. But once you deal with the Deathwing, you're going to have some big green men that also need dealing with. But deal with these two big green men, there'll be a whole load more to come. Oh wow, Goblin Lackey. Favourable trade made. And another favourable trade. So the Reliquary Prime, which is in the deck, is going to keep getting summoned. If we leave that blood on the board, and so we're going to have to kill it for sure. But I don't think there are any more significant threats beyond Reliquary Prime. I don't think there is anything else left in the deck. And some nice value from Deathwing there. I'll take it. Alright, big board. What I'm curious about here is what spells are in that hand to deal with this board. There must be something in that hand that they have yet to reveal in this game that can deal with these big green men. And that's what I want to check out here. So if we can bait out that spell, hopefully we'll then be free to continue developing the Jade Golems on future turns. Notice there is still 2 Dream Portals left in the deck. Therefore, very curious about what those dragons are going to be. Mass Hysteria, of course. Waiting for that. But lo and behold, our taunt survives. That's pretty good. Alright, Dream Portal time. What do we get?
Looks like I'm here just
That's a
in
bit
time.
meh. I mean, it's not terrible.
Hot streak.
So, you've shown me Mass Hysteria. What other spells do you have in that hand now, then, to clear this board? And should I have armoured up there, or should I have gone face with the hero power? Alright, Mass Hysteria. And the taunt still survives. This is a very lucky taunt. It clearly doesn't want to get into any of the action. Again, the armor up because I want to feel safe. Was that correct though? Should I have gone face? Holding back this other Jade Idol.
I'm out of cards.
Oh, of course, I'm out of cards, so I need to shuffle it. But that is an incredibly interesting dragon. Very interesting indeed. Coldarra Drake is going to let us hero power multiple times now. And we need to shuffle so we do not fatigue. If only Coldarra Drake was a druid card, can you imagine the shenanigans with this Malfurion hero power? Being able to multiply that 3 attack, or alternatively just multiply the armor gain, I think is quite strong. Okay. Second wave of apathy here. What is the priest waiting for? They are stalling. They are stalling. And now I'm going to go on the attack. This is beautiful. 15 attack.
Light and rot.
Yikes, that is painful. Now, on a couple of those earlier turns, if I'd gone face with the hero power rather than armoring up, I would have had lethal probably on that last turn. So maybe I was playing it a little bit too safe a few turns ago.
I live.
But this is not going to be enough to save our opponent. We have completely exhausted them of threats.
I'm almost out of.
What a satisfying game. And a very long game at that. The complete game was well over 20 minutes.
Hamul versus Valir.
Okay, so against the rogue here,
Nature seeks.
this would be the game that we need to win to get legend. The final boss. And Nature Studies into Jade Blossom is fantastic for us.
None will survive.
Absolutely fantastic. What I would really like to see next, though, is Oaken Summons
Here for the tour.
in our hand. Nature Studies into Jade Blossom into Oaken Summons. Against an aggressive opponent like this, that's just a massive deal. Not Yogg. I don't want to see Yogg. Oh, look, Oaken Summons. Beautiful. So Nature Studies into Jade Blossom into the Oaken Summons that was given to you by Nature Studies. You see, it all comes full circle. It all comes full circle. And I look at this hand now and I think, okay, I'm going to win this game for sure. That's how much I believe in Oaken Summons. Particularly when you can then play it on what would have been your turn 3.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
That's how good I think this card is, the spell is against aggro. So Oaken Summons into the Marauder. It's not as good as Oaken Summons into Vargoth, into a second Oaken Summons into the Marauder, because the Vargoth's in hand. But there you go, look, aggressive opponent, knew they were never going to get through that. And there we have Legend. Wow. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, NightmareCwb's Jade Druid, the deck that got me to Legend in the May season. And I had some awesome matchups against aggressive opponents, stabilizing with the armor gain, And yet my most surprising victory, my most shocking victory, was against the Mozaki Mage. I wish I'd recorded that game in full. We only had the screenshots to look at the start of the video. I was so fortunate to be able to have gained 40 armor by turn 6. So in total I had 70 health, including armor. And that mage then put a Flame Waker on the board, which decimated some of my armor, but then I was able to stabilize and get back up to 39 armor, so 69 health, including armor. And then came the double Mozaki turn, which was quite a shock because they had Molten Reflection. But even then, they were only able to put me down to 9 health, and I was able to stabilize and win the game. So thanks to Solar Eclipse very early on, the armor gain there is what saved me. So the MVP card in this deck, in my opinion, is Solar Eclipse. Solar Eclipse comboed with Ferocious Howl, or with Branching Paths, or with Oaken Summons is such a big deal. So, what do you guys think of this deck? Do you have any comments on it? Do you have any feedback? Perhaps leave a comment in the comments section below. At the very least, we got to see Yogg Saron, Hope's End, do a little bit of work in this video. It's not often that you see Yogg doing productive stuff in my videos, because most of the time I simply never get a chance to play him. You also saw Big Green Men doing work in this video. In most of my Jade Druid videos, you never get a chance to see the Jade Golems in action because the game is over before I need to develop them. So yes, consider this to be then a successful video where we saw Yogg do his thing and we saw the Big Green Men do their thing. And on that note, I'm going to thank you ever so much for joining me. And I will see you soon for more Wild Mode fun. But until next time, as always, please take care of yourselves, please stay safe, and please be good to one another.